Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Burn Nation, what is up, everybody? Welcome back, folks. We are here for another episode. You got Trish Pena in the building. What's up, Trish?
Oh, hey, DK.
We are excited today. Hey, we're gonna do a little pivot on the podcast. You guys want to hear about the pivot today?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna do a little pivot. I heard your feedback, and we've been really sourcing the internet for like the biggest headlines, the things that are happening out in the world, and there's a lot of that stuff that I think is really important that we're going to continue to incorporate into the podcast. But health and fitness doesn't have a lot of breaking headlines, all right? But when there is science, new research, new papers, new exciting big things, new government policies, new things like that, we're going to bring those to you. Don't worry. But you know what? To be honest with you guys, I'm getting a little bit bored just going through the 5 things that you shouldn't do before you go to bed articles, right? Like we gotta have a more sophisticated conversation than that, I believe. And that's what I'm hearing collectively from Burn Nation and all of our viewers and listeners. So whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, we appreciate you guys being here. We're going to change it up and go thematic. Okay, we're going to go thematic. So today's theme, everybody, is your beginner blueprint to fitness. Okay, now we're going to go through some articles. We're going to go through some videos, and we are really going to dive into defining your why, understanding exercise, the difference between it and activity and focused training. All right, we're going to talk about establishing a routine. You've heard it takes 21 days to form a habit. Well, does it? Is that true? What does that all mean? What's that all about? We're going to talk about that. And how do we recover? How do we prioritize recovery? And we're just going to touch on some nutrition basics as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are super advanced, if you are like Trisha or me, and you've done thousands of camps and you've eaten all the proteins and egg whites and you know how to cook and all the things, you're going to hear a lot of positive reinforcement today. You're going to hear some things you probably haven't heard before. But mostly what I'm going to try to do and what Trisha's going to do is help educate you so that you can help educate others. That is the name of the game here in Burn Nation. Each one teach one. We are a community, and the network effects of our community work as such. When we come on the podcast and we share our thoughts, when we teach you to eat differently, train differently, think differently, right? When we teach you to keep moving, what that philosophy is in your life, well, then you're able to take that philosophy and you have now something that you can believe in, that you can stand on, right? And that's a value. And then you're able to go give that value to other people. And that's what this is all about, is just paying it forward. So yes, we're going to be a little bit more, I would say, Trisha, elementary in terms of the topics that we're discussing today, but I'm a victim of doing this myself. Sometimes you think you're smarter than you are. Yep. And what you really need to do is go back to the basics. What I've learned about success is that all it is scaling up the basics, doing the basics over and over and over and over, not trying to get too complex or too fancy. Complexity is the enemy of execution. So what we need to do, keep it simple. Simple is sophisticated. And we're going to move forward with that philosophy. Make sense? Say yes. Ready,
Yes.
Trisha?
Yes, I'm ready.
What's your thoughts today?
I'm excited about this. And I also think, for the people out there that are listening that are, have done those 1,000 camps, that you maybe you have gotten a little away from the basics, but then you also have those people in your life that are struggling to really get started. This could be a really good podcast to help educate them, and you guys can have a conversation around it and help them get those healthy habits in place. So it might not necessarily be for you, but you're listening to it for a reason, because there's someone in your life that needs to hear this.
That's right. And so we all know that we can't just start something without any motivation. All right. So the first question that we have to answer today during the podcast is, what is motivation? Yep. What's motivation? Motivation, my friends, is the following. It is the gain of pleasure or the gain of pain. You're either gaining pleasure or you are gaining pain. That's it. That's the only reason why you do anything. because you're pleasure or pain. Okay. So if we are going to really motivate ourselves and be able to stick to a lifestyle for the long run, then what we need to do is identify our source of pain and our source of pleasure. What do you want in your life and what don't you want in your life? And people, often will say like, hey, define your why. All right. And yes, I think there's a lot of merit and substance to that. We have to do that. But what you're really doing isn't just defining your why. What you're really doing is defining what you're going to gain or you're going to lose. And guys, let's dial in, Trisha. And I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to come to you on this because I want you to explain to everybody today. Like, I'm going to use you as an example today. Like, I want you to really explain like what your motivation is. And when I say these principles, psychologically, how it kind of, how you adapt that to your life and how you think about it. And so if we're motivated only out of loss or gain of pain or pleasure, then okay, let's dial that in one layer deeper. What does that actually mean? What do you mean pain or pleasure, Devin? Because pain could be like, getting a tattoo, or pain could be, losing a loved one, or pleasure. There's such a wide scope of it, right? Or pleasure could be feeling the sun over your face, or it could be, watching your child graduate college when you never did, right? There's a whole spectrum of emotion. But here's the key. When you dial in to what you are absolutely motivated by, that's going to be that thing, that why that people talk about. When you're dialed into it, here's what you'll find. You'll find that motivation source, the gain of pleasure or the gain of pain, is associated directly, always 100% with every human being, to love. Who do you love in your life? And when you don't do the things that you keep promising yourself that you're going to do, how does it affect those people that you love in your life the most? This is the game. This is the psychological linchpin that I want all of you to listen very, very closely. And I want you to take this right now and I want you to do something with it, because this is the truth. And most of us have gone through life just saying, I want to lose weight. This is surface level. I want to lose the body fat. I want to feel good. I want to look good. These are all goals with merit. Goals with merit mean absolutely nothing without the execution. So how do we execute? How do we follow through? It's the absolute unregret. That's the thing that you are never going to move through life. You will never take another step forward if that's going to be your outcome in the future. All right? So I'm going to go to Trisha now, and I'm just going to pose a question to you, and then I just want you to go in and I'll ask you questions along the way. And hopefully you at home, as listening to this, you can follow along with my questioning and you can kind of explore yourself along as Trisha does. So when you define your why, let's talk about this. What did it first mean to you? How did you first start defining like what your why was when you first heard about it? And then fast forward, how do you define it today? Let's start there.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
Is this specific around fitness or like why I show up I try to show up as the best person of myself like every day? Perfect,
right? This is where so many people start off the wrong way because they don't dial into what I just said. Yeah. It's love. That's it. It's not, you're trying to gain more love or not lose love.
Okay.
That's your goal. That's the life's goal. Now, fitness should be, could be, can be a part of your personal goals. It's not a part of everyone's goals in terms of their definition of how to gain or lose love. You follow me?
Yeah.
So the goal is, it has nothing to do with fitness. Fitness is merely the vehicle potential vehicle that you could incorporate into the answer of how to get to where you're going.
Goodness. It's such a big question.
And if you ever get stuck on this, I can come in and give you my example as well.
Well, I think as you go through life's hurdles, and I always think that like everything you go through are building blocks to get you somewhere else. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I was intentional about my why for like the longest time, maybe until I had kids. And then that's when I started to think about my why, of why I'm showing up, because I think that's when I really felt the pressure, and parents out there can relate, of like people now rely on you. And I think that's also when you go internal and you realize maybe some of your downfalls and some of the bad habits that you have and some of the things that you just aren't proud of and that you don't want your kids to pick up as a habit, or you want to better yourself for them. So my why is my kids, but I feel like that's not going to be good enough for them.
No, I think you're getting close. Why? Because you want more love, not less, from your children. So here's how we get motivated. Now we go back to pain and pleasure. Okay? Let's start with pain, because pain is a very powerful motivator, a far more powerful motivator than pleasure, or than pleasure is. And so what I want you to ask yourself right now is the following question. And you have to be vulnerable, and you kind of have to go to a dark place here.
Yeah.
And people are scared of this because they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror. I've had to do it. I know. It's terrifying. I have demons, guys, right? And I've had to do all this work. I would never suggest anything to you that I haven't done to myself. So Trisha, the question for you is the things that are making your life worse and you know it, that you wake up the next day and you regret, at this point, it's very small for you. So dramatize it for me a little bit, okay?
Okay.
This 5 years ago might have been, 10 years ago might have been different. You've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
So answer this question. If you don't do the things that you say you're going to do, that you know you need to do, that you regret not doing, how does that affect your children 10 and 20 years from now? And how do they look at you? Do they look at you as positively as they could look at you if you take your negative habits? And what I want you to do is project your pain out into the future. I want you to take 3 things, 1, 2, 3 things. Close your eyes, everybody. Take 1, 2, or 3 things that you did yesterday that you know deep down in your soul, even if you justify it outwardly, deep down in your soul, it's not your true character. It's not who you are. It's not who you were meant to be. Was it smoking? Was it drinking diet soda? Was it yelling at your kids? What was it? What do you regret that you did yesterday? Do you have something? Lock it in. What do you regret? Those habits, take those and pretend that you don't just steady state project those out to 10 to 20 years, that you actually that you steel man these feelings and you say, what if these got worse at the fastest rate possible for the next 10 to 20 years? Where would I be at in 10 to 20 years from now? Psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. If I actually did the worst case scenario and said, Devin or Trisha, the habits that you had yesterday, you take those out, you compound those out, and you don't pay attention, you don't be the gatekeeper of your mind and your body and your soul, you're going to slowly let those demons in, and it's going to overrun your life in 10 years, and your kids are going to look at you and they're going to say, Mom, what do they say?
I mean, honestly, do you want me to tell you what what it is? So there's in the mornings, I'm working on it, but my patience is very, very small when we're trying to get out the door. And so when my kids fight, I lose my temper real fast. And I'm like, get in the car, boys, like, let's go. And that's not how they should start their day. And I have to apologize in the car, like, Mom, like saying me, like, I should have talked to you guys in a nicer way. But to think about, if I didn't have the awareness, and I'm definitely a lot better. Like there's some things now I can be calm about, but there's just the certain triggers that, really get me going. And I know you moms and dads out there can relate. But if I think about how that could impact them, if I didn't have the awareness to control it a little bit better and to come across and ask them nicely to maybe stop fighting or hitting each other or take your hands off of each other, I could see them not liking me in 10 to 20 years because Mom's angry all the time.
And so now connect that back to fitness. How do you connect that back to fitness? How does working out, how does showing up in the gym every day control your temperament so that you're more able to have self-control when it comes to getting out the door in the morning?
It's interesting that you say that, because the instance that this happened, I actually typically work out at 5:30 in the morning, and I actually didn't work out in the morning that day. So my morning was already off to like a chaotic start in my brain, because when I can do that one thing for myself, and that's why fitness is, for me, I think surface level, right? It's like aesthetic. It's making sure I'm strong so I can have longevity. It's all those things. But when I really dig into why am I showing up, and I honestly think that this is why I've become now like this morning person, is because I'm a better human. My why is I'm a better human when I can do something, I can focus on me, and I can be more intentional with my thought process. I am calmer in the morning. I make my kids breakfast when I get home from the gym. But if I wake up and it's just go, 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 I am already just like off my rocker. So I think that that's where fitness comes in for me. It does help me center myself and remind myself of my why.
Now we're getting somewhere. Do you notice how we're still talking about the beginning? We're talking about fitness for beginners. That's what we're still on that topic. We're on step one of this. Too many of you are going forward throughout your day without a plan, without a critical thought process or a rigorous thought process around why the hell you're actually doing all this stuff in the first place. Unhinged activity is just movement for progress. You can't mistake movement for progress. Progress is linear. Movement can be in a circle. And so what we have to do is dial in what Trisha just did. Do you see how simple that is, but how easily you can get off it if you have all the clutter in the way and you don't get down to the root of psychology, which is loss of love. So Trisha has it's nothing to do with being strong. She's one of the strongest women I know. It's nothing to do with being mobile. She's has the best form. Like, it has nothing to do with actual fitness. It has everything to do with her boys and the way they look at her in 10 years from today. And if she goes over and over and over and yells at them every day, they're going to think she's the B word in 10 years, and she's going to lose that love, and she's deathly afraid of that. That's why it comes to her mind when she thinks about what she regretted the next day. This is your reason why you're motivated to show up in the gym at 5:30. People say, showing up at the gym is hard at 5:30 in the morning. You don't know why you're doing it. That's why it's hard, because you don't have a charge. You don't have an emotion. And if you don't have emotion, then you don't have any motion, and you're going to stand still. And if you stand still, that's rigid. Rigid is the cousin of death. So we got to keep moving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're getting somewhere. Now here's what we're going to do. And I'm going to have you do this with me too. We've established that the love is really from her boys. It is really the primary driver. Okay. And we've established that fitness, just the routine in the gym alone, just getting there, is putting her in a psychological state to show up for her family every day. Guys, by the way, can I just cut through like 99.9999999% of the noise for mom and dads out there? Your why is the same exact why as Trisha's, by the way. It's the same thing. So stop thinking that like six packs are going to make you happy, people. You are motivated by the gain or loss of love from your children, from your family, from your mom, from your dad. That's it. That's it. That's the game. And as soon as you realize that, now we can do something about it. Now the things that are really hard become really easy, because what I am going to give up in the future, that future regret, that pain, that's an order of magnitude more than what it takes to get up at 5 a.m. and get in the gym. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through an exercise. All right. I wrote about this in Stop Starting Over. It's called the Ideal Day exercise. Okay. Most people, let me ask you this first. Do you have a narrative for your life in the future? Do you have a narrative of like 10 years or 20 years? This is the long view where I want to be. I call it the rocking chair narrative. Tell me your rocking chair narrative. You guys have heard of this concept before. It's not novel. Rocking chair, when you're 85 years old and you're sitting there and you're talking to your grandchildren, what do you want to say? Like, what do you want to say? It will be very painful to have regrets. Mm-hmm. It'll be very painful to have regrets. And so what we're going to do is help dial in a story, right? Because information tells and stories will sell. I mean, information will tell you what to do, and stories are going to sell you on what to do. You need to sell yourself on yourself in the future by creating a very compelling vision of what it looks like to be you in 10 years. So Trisha, what is your vision when you think about a story, a narrative for your life in 10 years?
I mean, it goes back to my kids, being able to have them bring their kids. So as a grandma, maybe at that point, telling about what I was able to accomplish, I think is my biggest thing. Is I want them to be proud of me. And it doesn't mean that we have to have all this money and live on a yacht and be able, sure, that's all great things. But my biggest thing is I want, and it goes back to the love. I'm seeing the reoccurrent, the theme here. But it definitely is me sitting there with my grandkids and my boys talking about how proud, I'm going to get emotional, how proud they are of me.
And what does it mean to you? What are they saying?
I think, that's honestly why I do what I do here. Brent, I've had,
No, listen to me. What are they saying to you? Close your eyes. What are they saying to you? Mom, thank you for
being a good role model and showing us what hard work looks like and taking care of yourself and always doing the right thing. All of those things to not overcomplicate life. I don't want them to, there's always going to be, life is hard. And I want them to know that you can still tackle challenging things and make it your way out of it and even become a better person out of it. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is for them to see that I've struggled. I don't want to hide things from them, but I want them to see that I worked so hard on myself for them and for myself. Ultimately, it's for me to be the best version of me that I can be and to continue to grow and to never stop learning. So that way they look at me and they can see that when they're older and they have that awareness as well, because they're going through hard things as they get.
Did you guys just see what happened right there? Did you see this interaction? By the way, this is unplanned with me and Trisha. She did not know this was coming, right? I know that was going to happen, and I wasn't going to stop until I got tears. Why? Because I'm one hell of a trainer, and I understand psychology, and I understand that the mind moves the body. Emotion creates the motion. And if I did not get her to connect emotionally and put a signature of emotion on that moment, which is marked by tears, I now know that I hit her pocket. What I just did with Trisha right there is, in a 15-minute conversation, I took her adherence to her fitness game up about another 8%. And now that emotional signature is going to compound day over day over day. And this conversation is going to be fruitful years to come because she had a realization. Oh, yes, I always kind of knew what I was motivated by, but that tear, that's the one thing. That is what I call, and when we sit in our focus meetings, everybody, that's what I call the hot button at Burn Boot Camp. We sit down and we get you to associate your fitness with the gain or loss of love. Boom, I got a tear. Now we can make some results. That's the foundation. And to any beginner starting fitness, this is the beginning of the blueprint. And notice, we did not even talk about exercise yet, okay? You don't start building the house until you have the blueprint. Most of you don't have a blueprint. Most of you don't have a story. Most of you don't have a narrative. So here's what we're going to do. And feel free to do this. And let's lock in on Trisha on this, because I want to see, and you're going to close your eyes during this. And I want to lock in on Trisha because I want you guys to really just see her calm and her breathing through this. You're going to breathe through this the whole time, and just forget that you're on a podcast, okay? And I want you to go deep in your mind, and I want you to really just listen to my words. I'll be very soft spoken, and I'll be very prompting to you so that you can get some thoughts. And I'll explain what I'm going to do first, and then I'll ask you all to close your eyes. And, I'd ask you to join at home too. If you're driving, please do not do this. But if you're at home, I invite you right now to close your eyes after I explain what I'm going to do. And we're going to go through this exercise together. And I'm going to help you develop the narrative so that you can adhere to what you really came to this podcast for, which was your health and your fitness journey, okay? So this is called the Ideal Day Exercise. I wrote about this in Stop Starting Over, my very first book that I published back in 2017. And it's helped thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people get to their why, or to their, what I call the North Star, the shining light in your life, the guiding light. Okay. What we're going to do is I am basically going to ask you a set of questions, and you're going to answer these questions silently in your head. And you're going to develop a story, a picture, an image. I want you literally in your mind to envision what I'm talking about, okay? As best as you can. All right. So everybody go ahead and close your eyes. I want you to take a big deep breath in. And then your deep breath out. Just exhale any anxiety that you have about this. And maybe do that just a couple times real quick. Let your shoulders relax. Now I want you to picture yourself. I want you to picture yourself 10 years from today. I want you to picture who you're with 10 years from today. What mood are you in? Stay in it.
Okay.
What mood are you in? Where are you at? What are you doing? Are you inside or are you outside? Do you feel the sunlight on your face or do you feel the relaxation from darkness? What do you see? Are you seeing through sunglasses? What do you hear? Who loves you the most? What do they mean to you? If you were to live one day over and over and you had to repeat every day had to be the exact same. You now have this setting, you're with these people, you're in this environment. It might be your house, it might be a vacation, it might be a celebration, it might be something that's very unique to you. Now, what would you guys do together first thing in the morning? What time would you get up? What do you do when you first wake up? Who kisses who? Do you work out together? Do you take your kids to school? Are your kids in school? Are they in college? How does that make you feel? What's for lunch? What do you talk about at lunch with your family, with your friends, with the people that you're with, your loved ones? What are you discussing? What feelings do you have of accomplishment after this discussion? How good does that feel? Ooh, lock that in. How good does that feel? What are you going to do mid-afternoon? What's the family love to do? What are your hobbies? Where do you guys go? Are you travelers? Are you homebodies? And then in the evening, are you eating dinner together? What are you eating? Who's making dinner? Do your kids know how to cook healthy at this point? And before bed, what's your routine? Who are you before bed? Are you the loving wife or husband? Or are you the marathon runner in the evenings? Now, open your eyes. How do you feel?
Great.
Talk to us about what you just experienced.
You want me to tell you
Start at the very
the
beginning.
journey that I was on?
So reminder, we're trying to establish a narrative. We're trying to establish a story. What I just did for you right there is I gave you a bunch of prompts that are going to put a bunch of these scenes and these visions and all these things in your head. I have no idea what you guys are thinking. I just know that when I ask myself those questions, I have a certain vision. And that the culmination of all those visions, if I start asking enough questions and then I put it into a day over day, like if you had to wake up and repeat the same day over and over and over, what would that look like? Well, you're only going to select the things that are most rewarding and valuable to you, that give you the most energy. And so by nature of that exercise, you're going to not pick stuff that you don't like doing because you have to do it every day over and over and over. And so what I want to hear from you now is, what's your story? What's your narrative? What does that describe in vivid detail? How does it feel? What do you see? What did you hear? Describe your narrative, and then I'll kind of assess whether hey, that's a narrative that that's a story you can sell yourself on, or that's just kind of information that tells you. Go ahead.
So 10 years from now, I pictured myself immediately. I was on a beach. The sun was hitting me. I didn't have sunglasses on. I was with the people who loved me the most, which was instantly my kids were with me. And I think, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to dissect this, but it was interesting for me to think about that and why vacation, because as you were asking more questions, I was like, why am I on a vacation? But I think, that's when we get to spend the most time together. So in 10 years, my boys will be old enough for us to have movement together in the morning. So I do envision us they already work out at Burn Boot Camp, at kids camp. So they love that. So I am totally envision us doing workouts together. And from there, having lunch together and just being together, doing movement outside is like one of my all-time favorite things. If I could just like live outside, I probably would, if it wasn't too hot and just give me some hydration. So we would stay outside together, and just be together and have a good time and talk about our goals. And at that point, it'll be crazy because they'll actually be like adults almost, or yeah, they will be, with potentially almost having kids. So having just all those conversations about the future and, where they envision themselves.
And is that on a scale of 1 to 10, when you open your eyes, how did you feel after experiencing that narrative, that visualization in your head? How did you feel like physically right now? Did it change your physiology? Did it change your mood? Did you have a little feel lighter or brighter?
I was super anxious going into it. I don't know why I had like this that's why when you said saying it, I was getting like nervous energy. So I had to like talk to myself. And then as I was, really thinking about it, it made me very happy. Like I have this warmth sensation all through my body. And if you kept going, I probably would have gotten emotional again, just thinking about how I could see all this actually taking place. So it made me very happy.
So what we just did from a physiological standpoint is we connected your emotion to your central nervous system. And we also fired up what's called your reticular activating system, your RAS. And your RAS is if you were in a fighter pilot jet and you're going to fight another jet and you're going to have that radar that's on him. The RAS is the mechanism of your prefrontal cortex that allows you to eliminate all distractions, or the millions of possible distractions that we have going on at once, and dial into what's important to you. And you dialed in what's important to you, and that you described warmth. That warmth, that's your body, that's your central nervous system reacting to the emotion. Mm-hmm. Now what you just did is you took it from brain and thought. Notice how I asked a bunch of feeling questions, sensations, sight, sound, because I'm trying to get your image. I'm trying to get your RAS fired up so that you can actually zero in and see the image of what you want. Now what's going to happen just subconsciously, Trisha, is you're going to start attracting things that will make that reality happen in your life without you even thinking about it, because it's ingrained into your body now. Mm-hmm. Your central nervous system, our central nervous system, is a system that is compounded. It's said in spiritual realm that the central nervous system is what holds the words and wisdom of everyone before us. That the central nervous system is the store of all ancient wisdom, and that we have the potential to tap into that. And so when we can get a thought into chills, or we can get a psychological thought into a physiological response, woo! Now we're talking about really moving the needle. That's the standard. And if you don't have that strategy, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get really fired up for like a week. You're going to gain maybe a month, and you're going to get to the end of that when that honeymoon phase and that fire wears out, right? And the motivation for wanting that six-pack is gone, right? Now you're going to just go right back to where you were. Guys, what I'm talking about right now here is inspiration. Most people talk about motivation. Let me explain the difference between inspiration and motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation comes and goes. I'm motivated one moment, I'm unmotivated the next moment. I have dirty clothes one moment, I have clean clothes the next moment. I've got to wear clean clothes, so I've got to get motivated, and I've got to get the clean clothes. I got to take the shower. I get dirty. I can't just not shower. But motivation is very much like a bath. You have to use it often. You need constantly to have motivational things in front of you. Inspiration is long-term. Motivation is short-term. Inspiration is your why. It is your ideal day. It is this narrative that we're talking about. That's your inspiration. I want you to lock this in, okay? And if you need to rewind the podcast back and go do that exercise over and over, okay, do it. Now, last step, and maybe we could do this too, Trisha, later, is I want you to take that and write it down. Take that, write it down, and then here's the trick, people. You're going to put it by your bedside, and you are going to read that son of a gun every single night. Why? Because you forget, because you're a human, and honeymoon phases are real on anything. If you have any net new motivation, you're going to wear off. So if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So every single night, all right? And then we can start talking about performance goals, and we can start talking about nutrition, and we can start talking about recovery and exercise science and corrective exercise. And you know what I mean? Too many of us start there. So we're not going to start there. We started here for a reason, because that's the Burn Bootcamp philosophy. It's my philosophy. It's what helped me in my life. I'll just give my quick before we move to the next one. Like, listen, I grew up in chaos. My home was broken. Everybody knows that. If you don't know, now you know. It's like, it wasn't pretty. My father was in and out of jail. He's in prison, jail most of my life. And, my mother abandoned the family. I was like this young kid, this 12 years old, on his own, 13, 14, 15, on his own. I had no supervision. I had my childhood was wild. I spent my years from when I was in kindergarten to fourth grade. My mom took me to Arizona away from my dad without telling him. Just one day we picked up and left. Went to Mississippi, to Arizona, to California, to Washington State, back to California, back to Arizona. My dad drove all the way from Michigan back to Arizona, put me in his truck without my mom knowing, and drove me all the way back to Michigan. And then she followed, moved back to Michigan. They got back together in the household, 84 Pleasant Avenue. It's tattooed backwards on my wrist to remind me how chaotic and backwards my life was. But that chaos and that backward, that's called, I call that the negative narrative. That's my negative narrative, to be able to take that experience that I had as a child, right? That experience I don't think any child should have. That negative experience, harness that, flip it into my why. So now my story is that my children going through, 0 to 12 years old, those were the real forming years for me. Most times it's like 12 to 16 for people. 5 to 12 was my forming years. And I'm giving my kids a completely different narrative, a completely different outlook on life. And I refuse to have them even have to stare in the face of their father hitting them or their mother leaving them. And so I'm going to do such the radical opposite of that. And along the way, I'm going to give gratitude and thanks and forgiveness and love and respect and dignity and admiration to my parents for showing me what not to do, for bringing me into this world and putting me through the ringer and forcing me to become the man I am today, because I would not be here today with you if it wasn't for that. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm also grateful for you to give me the opportunity to show my kids a life that they can never dream of, and that you would look at and you would say, holy shit, Devin, I'm so proud of you for doing that. That's my driver. That's the narrative that my kids are going to say in my rocking chairs. They're going to say, Dad, I know your story. Dude, you are a legend. You are a legend. That's it. And I only care about being a legend to them, by the way. That's it. And I get emotional. You see it? Yeah. I think about it all the time.
You're making me emotional just watching you get emotional.
I think about it all the time, and I get this little tear to my eye. So this is the game, people, and I appreciate you guys staying here and really being active and listening and being an active participant in the podcast, because other episodes have been a little bit passive, and you're kind of listening, and it's cool to listen in the background. Not working. We got to step the game up. All right, segment number 2 today is going to be, now we got to understand exercise, activity, and focused training. There's differences between exercise, activity, focused training. First question, why are we going here next? Well, because the best way to gain momentum, the most tangible, quick way to gain momentum, drop down on the floor, do 20 push-ups, run, get out for a walk, go do something, be active, activity, exercise, training. There's differences. We're going to explain that, but I am a fan and I love all fitness. And this is the next step, because it gives you so much momentum. Trisha, my question for you, when you first got into fitness, when was it?
I mean, so intentionally, it was, I guess, probably 8-9 years ago.
8-9 years ago. Is that about when you started Burn?
Yeah. Before, okay. I mean, I always did sports growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
but you said, okay, I'm an athlete. I've kind of been exercising. I've kind of been doing activity, but I haven't really been doing any training.
Like intentional training and like
Intentional
learning.
training.
That's why I got my CPT, because I wanted to like learn.
So what types of activity would you do? Like what exercise and activity would you do that, you felt good about, but you also felt kind of unplanned? Explain it. Would you like show up to the gym and do jump ropes and some curls and call it a day and kind of, you worked out, but you didn't really train?
I would say, yeah, and I went for a lot of like jogs. I think jogging was like my thing, and it never like changed my body. And I was like, I'm jogging all the time, but little did I know that I wasn't, like actually getting my heart rate up, and it was more just physical activity than actual intentional exercise. So I did that quite a bit. And yes, I would show up to the gym and move around some weights, not really knowing what I was doing, but thinking I knew what I was doing.
Okay, good. So, and then you have experienced the difference between activity,
Yes.
exercise, and training.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to dive into this, and we're going to really focus on training. But I think it's important that we get one thing straight. First of all, is that movement is medicine. And I love all forms of fitness. I'm the Burn Boot Camp guy. I get it. People expect me to be like, putting down other brands or whatever. CrossFit, great. Orange Theory, great. F45, great. Barry's Boot Camp, great. Respect those companies greatly. Personal trainers, great. Influencers, great. Online programs, great. Awesome. You know why? Because literally, you guys, 85% of people in this country don't actively work out. They don't just not train. They don't even exercise. Mm-hmm. They don't even do activity. They do nothing. They don't do anything. And so I think it is such a show of character if another fitness professional or health professional puts down somebody else or their philosophy. So you're never going to get that from here. Mm-hmm. Here's why. Because every single person is as unique as uniquely possible. Like, you are 1 in 400 trillion, statistically speaking. The astrophysicists will tell you that you are 1 in 400 trillion. That's your chances of being Trisha. That's your chances of being Devin, okay? Which means that you are worth it, number one. And number two, this means that the opportunity to be on this planet is so rare. It's like we're going to walk around with this rare gift, and we're going to allow ourselves to kind of look through this fog our whole lives. And we get to this point where like we're mistaking movement for progress because we're doing physical activity and exercise and all these things, but like they're not the same. They're not the same, okay? Burn isn't just a workout. Burn is a training program, okay? It's not exercise. It's not activity. It's a training program, and I'm going to go into this, okay? Before I do that, I'd like to ask you, Trish, one question because I'm interested at your journey at the beginning of Burn Boot Camp. When you came to Burn, were you looking for training, or were you just looking for like, hey, I just need to like spice up my workouts? Like, what was your motivation originally?
My motivation was the fact that we have childcare. I'm not going to...
Hey.
I had a double stroller and I would continue my jogs, but like I just needed some time alone. And so that's honestly why I came to Burn Boot Camp, and then I never left.
Okay. So let's do some definitions real quick, okay? So activity. Activity is great, all right? Activity is play. Activity is movement that is in outdoors. It's pickleball. It's hiking. It's going on a walk. It's I don't know. I see people in the park, playing with their kids. All this is activity. If you're outside and you're moving, you get it, right? It's not rocket science. Exercise is working out, but it's unplanned, unhinged. You walk into Gold's Gym and you kind of just do some bicep curls. You hit some jump ropes. You look around, you see what the fit people are doing. You maybe do a couple things that they're doing, and then you call it a day. And then you're like, I feel pretty good. Like, I'll do that again. That was good. These two things are great. Then people want to do this. Then they want to say, hey, I plateaued. Well, you plateaued because you're not training. You are exercising, okay? So training is regimented. Training is planned, okay? Let me tell you a quick story, and then I'm coming to you for your story on your transition from exercise into training and when that really started to take shape in your life. I went from exercise to training when I was 16 years old. I was 16 years old, and I already knew that I needed to go out of my hometown and get out of 84 Pleasant if I was going to survive this life. And so I put everything to baseball. I was on the field all the time. My coaches were sick of me. I just didn't want to go home. And so they were telling me, as I was a good player, they were telling me at 16 years old, DK, you are 157 pounds, dude. You have a good fastball, but unless you gain 20 pounds, you're not going to go Division I. And people, I did not have any money, as you probably can make the assumption. So a scholarship was the only way. There was no other way. And so I had to go work. That was my only shot. It was the plan A, okay? And so I walked into my weight room and I met my football coach, Matt Miller. He's about 6'5", like just a brick. And he put me on the bigger, faster, stronger program. And this was the first time that I would show up to the weight room, do my lifts, record my lifts, track my progress, come back the next week, do my lifts, record my lifts, track my progress. And we would do periods. Even in high school, we would do periods where we would have a goal, like preseason football. That was a whole period. You want to get as strong as you could right before football season, okay? So we would be doing deadlifts for progression. We'd be doing 5-rep maxes, 8-rep maxes, and we want to increase that weight over time. Well, people, I gained 25 pounds as a 16, 17, and 18-year-old, okay? I got my scholarship, I got out, and the rest was history. But fitness changed my life at that day. Mm-hmm. And most recently, it's changed my life again. I'm going to talk about that in a couple months. I'm not ready to do it yet, but I've had the second coming of that, and I want you to know that's coming, and I'm ready to talk about it, but I need more time. This first one really set the trajectory for Burn Bootcamp and what we do at training. And then I go to Central Michigan University, same thing, only it's for pitchers now, right? So at, how would you say, a criteria of training is specific to you as a human being, okay? So I was a kid trying to gain muscle to play baseball, and then I got more specific. I was a pitcher trying to go to the next level, and then when I got to the Giants, I got drafted, I got to go to the next level in the Giants. Now I was a long relief pitcher, right, who had periodizations built for long relief pitchers, and it became very, very sports specific. At Burn Bootcamp, now what we've done is invented group personal training, right? Periodization for a group. So you can sit down one-on-one with your trainer in each of our 9 mesocycles, and you can ask your trainer, hey, help me establish some performance goals for me as an individual. And then you get to show up to camp every single week. And let's just say, because we're in mesocycle 4 right now, you're showing up and you have 1 to 2 human movement patterns. You have 1 to 2 exercises, rather, that are a fundamental, foundational human movement pattern and that every human needs to be efficient at. And you are going to track your progression in those things, in those 2. Yes, you're going to do other supplemental activity or exercise around those trackable exercises, but those are what you're going to track and you're going to carry over into periodization. You're going to pull up at a focus meeting with your trainer, and you're going to make sure by the end of mesocycle 4, you did what you said you're going to do. And this is how we keep ourselves on track and how we stay motivated. This is the difference between exercise and training. And, it took me kind of going from like this small town chaos where I grew up to playing ball at Central Michigan to the San Francisco Giants to not running Burn like that, and maybe like the first couple years when we were in the parking lot days, to being like, oh, I got it. And it happened to be a very novel idea. So Trisha, when your Burn Bootcamp journey, mm-hmm. Tell your story. I want people to know for you from member to trainer, yep. And then from trainer to being inside of the training phases and all the board meetings about what we're going to do in the future with our fitness product.
Yeah, so if you guys heard, I came to Burn Bootcamp because of the child watch. as we like to call it at Burn Boot Camp. And I stayed because of the challenge. I grew up playing sports. And I think what I didn't know at the time, what was missing in my life was the competitiveness, and not necessarily with other people, but the competitiveness that I have of like me versus me. And when you're on a jog by yourself, it's unless you're doing it intentionally and it's not just physical activity, it's really hard to feel that. And I felt that more than I ever had before in any other fitness experience that I've been with. And this is the longest fitness journey that I've ever been on, is with Burn Boot Camp. And as I was, I think probably about 6 months in, it like clicked with me of like, this is something special, because I can see other people around me that we're all here showing up to like challenge ourselves. And we all looked different. We all were being challenged in different ways. And I'm, again, competitive with myself, where I wanted to keep getting better. And in order to get better, I had to be more intentional. And to be more intentional, I needed to educate myself. And so all of those that pathway led me to want to become a trainer, because not only was I going to educate myself on why am I doing a squat versus a, deadlift versus all these different exercises. I really wanted to understand the muscle groups and how to put your mind on your muscle and what muscles to activate. And then I also thought, as I think about my goals for my future, and what I really wanted to do is like help people, encourage people that might feel like they're in a stuck place, to help them. So the best way that I could think to do that was to become a trainer. So I put my education hat on. So I was learning, but then also getting to a point, and I was telling the trainers there, I was like, hey, I'm getting my CPT. I want to be a trainer here. So they already knew, and they're already telling me, you're going to be on the mic this day. This is going to be your first. So it kind of gave me a goal to get that my CPT done. So I got it done pretty quick, and was able to train and to learn and to see from a different POV. Because when you're a member, obviously you're focused really on yourself and what they're hearing on the mic. But then when you're a trainer, you're able to see other people accomplish goals. And that is one of the most rewarding experiences, is to watch someone do something that they didn't think that they could do. And you are the one telling them that they could do it, but you knew all along that they could do it, but they just needed some reassurance. And that to me is stronger than just in the gym. It's what you take outside of the gym as well. And that's what I got from my trainers. Morgan Klein, Beth Williams was one of my OG trainers back in the day. And they helped give me that confidence to then be able to catapult me into like this life that I'm now living, that if you would have asked me 9 years ago when I first stepped into Burn Boot Camp, if I would be the VP of marketing, I think I wanted to manifest it, but I actually think it was going to happen? Probably no, because I didn't have the confidence in myself to think that I'm capable of having such a job and such a responsibility. So, that's where I think like my Burn Boot Camp journey has led me to be able to all along, and I've still never stopped saying, like, I always just want to learn. I crave knowledge, so that way I can be more intentional in every aspect of my life, especially when training. So now I'm, focused on building different parts of my body and getting stronger, specifically in my lower body. I love lower body strength day, and how am I activating my glutes and the different muscles in my glutes. So
talk to me about your deadlift, because that's one of a PR that we do often, and your deadlift has gotten really good. So maybe talk about the progression of that as like a example of how we can manifest from we can evolve, rather, I think is a better word, from exercise into training.
That's a great example, because my form on a deadlift when I first started doing was terrible. My back would always hurt, and then I couldn't increase my weight because I thought I was just maxed out on my weight, because I just kept telling a trainer. And it was actually Ashley Hearn, shout out Ashley Hearn, who noticed that my form was like off. And so she really helped correct me with my form, which then, obviously I went back and watched YouTube channels and tried to work on my form. And every time we do a deadlift, I'd ask her, I'd be like, hey, Hearn, I'm struggling with this. Can you tell me if I'm doing it right? Or whatever trainer was in there at the time. And then once I was able to get that form down, that's really when I was able to unlock the potential. And now I'm able to deadlift 200 pounds. So my grip strength is, a little bit lacking, but I can do 2 reps with holding 100-pound dumbbells in each hand. So I'd say that's where the transition and the progression has come.
Okay. And so then finish this for me. And because most people in general, when they hear you say I'm deadlifting 100 pounds in each hand, 200 pounds total, they're going to think like, oh, I'm going to get huge doing that. Trisha, you are lean, athletic, you have functionality. Talk to us just about like, just help me walk people off the ledge, because of like why, they're scared of heavy weights a lot of times, and you're not going to like, wake up the next day and look like the Incredible Hulk by any means, right?
So, and I hope people listening to this will actually listen to the words that I'm saying, because it took me far too long to realize this. I probably the first, I would say 4 years of my Burn Boot Camp journey, I was scared to lift the heavy weights. And then I started to educate myself, and I started to like hear people saying that these are myths. And I have to credit Matt Morris and Devin for really kind of helping me overcome the fear of lifting heavy weights. And once I overcame that fear and started to actually trust the process. I know we say that a lot, but it's so true. That is when I started to see the biggest changes in my life. And if I can just eat some protein, a lot of protein, and get a lot of sleep, drink a lot of water, and lift those heavy weights, I've started to see the most like physique changes, and it's exciting because it gives me more motivation to keep going.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to actually check, Chelsea, if you could pull up GPT for me for a second. I want to check something because, oftentimes I'll take like societal cliches, and I'll put it into GPT, and I'll like ask it to, so I want to have some prompts here. So I want you to type in there into Chat GPT, if I want you to steel man an argument. Okay, I want you to go ahead and type this out. I want you to steel man an argument for why I shouldn't have a regimented fitness training program as a healthy adult. I'm going to see if there's any excuses on the internet that GPT is willing to pull up. What is the argument? Let's see if these are good arguments. All right, make that a little bigger for me. Okay, so here's the steelman argument against having a regimented fitness program. Overstructuring fitness can undermine long-term sustainability, enjoyment, and adaptability, which are more important for health and well-being than rigid discipline.
I've heard that one.
Have you heard that one before?
I have.
Okay. So they're saying being less disciplined will make you happy than being more disciplined. Or are they saying over-structuring? Okay, I get that. All right, intrinsic motivation over extrinsic structure. All right, so how many of us have intrinsic motivation and are able to just go to the gym and do our thing on our own, or how many of us actually need accountability? Okay, so you reading these things, life is dynamic, risk of burnout and overuse injuries, emphasis on all these sound really, really soft to me. Like it's like that. No, you should want some structure. And this sounds like maybe a bucket of excuses somebody might give if they are literally trying not to work out at all. All right. I was just curious as a little aside as to what this thing would say. Because what GPT does is it basically will search the internet and bring together all of the like most common excuses people would use for that prompt. So, it's an interesting thing. If you go in, this is a little bit more of a specific criteria. If you just say, give me reasons why I shouldn't work out, try that one. Give me reasons why I shouldn't work out. Give me reasons why I should not work out. Okay, sure. While regular exercise has many well-documented benefits, there are some valid reasons why someone might not choose to work out. Okay, you're injured or recovering, obviously. You're sick, obviously. You're chronic, obviously. You're not really time and priorities. Okay. So this is why I'm doing this, you guys. This is why I'm doing this, okay? Here's the punchline. I know you're like, Devin, where the hell are you going with this? I'm going somewhere. Stay with me. Here's where I'm going with this. If you look for excuses, they are readily available. If you want to not work out, if you want to find reasons why you shouldn't be healthy, if you think life is short, live it up, and you value that next smoke that you're gonna have, that next drink that you're gonna have, that next Chick-fil-A that you're gonna have or whatever. If you value, Chick-fil-A, look at the ingredients, people. It's not freaking chicken. Come on, give me a break. Right? If you don't value health, you're gonna have a plethora of excuses to go find. And here they all are right there. So that's why I'm doing this, to show you that if you have to be your own individual and start back at number one, what's your why? If you want to stick to this, because there's so many excuses that are readily available to you. So activity, exercise, training, we've explained it all. What else do we need to cover here?
I mean, I think you want a little bit of both, right? So I think back to the main
Perfect.
point.
That's a great point. Yes.
Movement is movement. So I think you want to have the physical activity. And I think now people are going to laugh when, you do like that grocery haul and you do like, you're making like all these trips back and forth from your car to the inside. And it's like, oh, got my workout in. Like now you can laugh because that's actually physical activity that wasn't intentional. But then you also need your intentional exercise. So I think that kind of sums it all up, is you need both for a well-balanced life.
So we've talked about like the psychological benefits to this, guys. And listen, I'm I would say very well versed in psychology. And biology and physiology I'm working on. I'm going to keep getting better. But people like Dr. Andy Galpin are people that I really like to look to when it comes, because I know so many of you are kind of the data-driven, kind of engineer mindset people that really like to have the data, really like to have the science. One thing I will say about science is that I love and respect science thoroughly. There's one issue that I have with science, and scientists say, we now know, ... And then 3 years later, they'll say, we now know, ... And then 3 years later, they'll say, well, we now know, ... I just wish this whole community, I think they would get a lot more trust if they would just say, what we think we know is ... What we think we know is ... Because it's part of the scientific process to keep an open mind. And if there's enough evidence that's put in front of your face, you're going to change your mind. And all of the great ones do. Dr. Andy Galpin is a great one. Is a big fan of his. I asked him to be on the podcast. He told me no, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying because I really like what he has to say. And I'm going to meet him eventually because that's just who I am and what I do. So we'll play this back, Dr. Andy, when you're sitting right here next to me. But we're going to go to a video between him. I think he's discussing with, he's on a podcast. I don't know what podcast it is, but he's at 10:31 to 11:47, about a minute and a half clip here. Dr. Andy Galpin, he is up in New York. So I think I don't think this clip explains who he is, but you guys can look up who he is. I don't need to give him an intro. For most of you, if you study any of this stuff, you've probably found him somewhere. So 10:31 to 11:47. Chelsea, roll Andy and Trish and I will react to his statement.
Entire field, you can look at this from just simply longevity perspective. How long do you live? Strength training provides a massive advantage. You can look at this from the perspective of brain health. And we talked about this last time in our discussion. Lots of evidence showing both causal and correlation. What that means, yes, people that have healthier brains are probably stronger, but the reality of it is strength training, the act itself, the practice, will have positive physical benefits of your brain. You're talking about brain matter. You're talking about cognitive function, so the actual tissue in your head, as well as functionality, memory, word recall, executive function, deterring of Alzheimer's and dementia. This stuff has been shown, again, in many, many studies across multiple labs. Your bone health, cardiovascular health, your functionality. Those that are stronger tend to be more active through aging. Right? You're going to be more physically active. Then you get all the secondary benefits simply associated with being more active because life isn't as hard.
Okay, so what I would really want you guys to pick up on there is he's really discussing just the brain effects, right? Like longevity. That's a word that we use here often. And longevity is so important to keep in mind, right? That when we are strength training, you guys, so many of our goals are like superficial, kind of surface level, the things we can feel, things we can see. There's a whole cocktail of chemical interactions that are going on under the scenes when you're training hard, and even if you exercise really hard, right? Even if you have like hard activity, when you are pushing yourself and you're demanding more of yourself than kind of normally you would, like your baseline. Now you're going to really not only prove to yourself that you can do it, mental resilience, but it's the actual structural components of the brain too. Dr. Wendy Suzuki goes into this in Happy Brain, Happy Life, where she talks about the effects of Metcon, metabolic conditioning, and the effects of the tissue that you actually regenerate and gain in the hippocampus, which is the brain structure that's responsible for your short-term, long-term memory. Like if you got Alzheimer's or dementia or something, what that is a byproduct of your hippocampus tissues shrinking and degrading. you're losing it, right? So if we strength train, so it's strength and conditioning, 3 of those that burn every week, sometimes 4 strength days, and the rest are always conditioning. And it's hard. It's meant to have that 1-2 punch, that body and brain effect. Okay, so what we are doing here at Burn is that's part of training. That's part of our regimen, is that longevity in that approach. Have you ever read that book? We know we talked about that a few times. Have you ever read the Dr. Whitney Suzuki book?
No,
that would be cool for you to read, because I think you would really vibe with her too. You should read that one. That's a good one if you're looking for one.
Yeah.
Next up, brain health, right?
Brain health, yeah.
Because we get the structural benefits. So what I'm trying to do here, people, is give you more opportunities and more reasons to say, I'm gonna take activity and I'm gonna enhance it to exercise, or I'm gonna enhance it to training. And by the way, training and activity go together really well. Mm-hmm. Mine is my Burn Boot Camp workouts Monday through Friday, and sometimes on Saturday, and my Monday night pickleball and my Friday afternoon pickleball. And that might be training. I don't know at this point, because I'm getting pretty serious, if you know what I mean. What do you think, Chelsea? You wanna try me? No?
I need to just play to begin with. Leslie's trying to get me to come out there, and I just need to do it.
Trisha's played.
So I wouldn't
do
it yet.
Yeah.
No.
So fun.
All right. Well, Trisha, any last kind of words of wisdom or things you would want our people to know today?
I think it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like the best thing that you can do is go for a walk to get some movement in, then go for a walk. If you're going to miss your exercise for whatever reason, and maybe it is an excuse, but just know it's an excuse. Don't make it an excuse. Go do something else and move your body.
Okay. I love that. I love it. I'm going to sign off with this. No matter whether it's activity, it's exercise, or it's demanding training, here's the reality. Movement is medicine, okay? And each time you move your body, that's a moment. And my mindset coach, DG, taught me every single moment is what creates momentum. You don't get momentum unless you have moments. So whether it's activity, whether it's a planned exercise, or it's regimented training, I want you guys to realize that each one of those moments, if you allow it to compound on itself, is going to allow you to be the person that you've always wanted to be, which is the person who just does this. I just do hard things. Isn't that exciting that you can just work out consistently, that you can start slow, and that you can build yourself up, and you can get to the point in which that one workout, that seemingly kind of like nonchalant thing that people demonize that they don't really like to do because it's hard and it's painful, you actually are so intrinsically motivated to go do that thing because all the moments that you've stacked up have added up. You've correlated the right why to them. You've correlated gain of love to them. So now every time a moment happens, now you have an emotional signature to that moment, and watch the emotional signatures compound over time. Now you become a different person. Your personality changes. You're now somebody that wants to go attack mode at a workout rather than, I have to do that. And my friends, this is where the true transformation lies. It's psychological. It's not physiological. And that's the truth. So thanks to my buddy DG. We'll link his podcast in the show notes. We did a long form podcast. I mean, my guy is there's a reason I hired him. There's not many people I would hire to teach me mindset. I'm a pretty mentally strong guy. But he was next level for me, and he's taught me so much spiritually as well. Spiritually has been a big void in my life, so he's taught me a lot spiritually, and that's one thing that I would bring from him to you as his gift to you. You can go watch his full podcast in which he goes in on some pretty esoteric stuff, and he's going to be pulled up here in soon again for another one, or
this month.
Yeah, this month. Okay, so that's it. That's it for that one. Let's go to segment 3 of 4 today. Establishing a routine. Let's start this one with the Huberman clip. So we have a clip from Huberman, and I think this is really interesting because he is a scientist. And when you always hear, those cliche things that marketing and big food companies really push at you, like here's a handful of cliches. Okay, listen, if you hear any of these things, I want you to run fast because it is not it's not good, sound advice. Number one is never skip a meal. Number two is eat the grains are the foundation of your diet. Number two is don't work out too hard. You'll get injured. There's a lot of these kind of cliche things out there. This one that he's going to talk about is it takes 21 days to form a habit. And listen, I am guilty of totally leaning into this, and maybe it's partially true or not. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it isn't. But I leaned into like 21 days to form a habit for a very long time. And I don't regret it, but I think there's a more nuanced conversation that we can have about what it takes to kind of establish a routine. So now that we got the vision, we got the why, it's established to love. Now that you know, you can just like start now. You can just go outside, create a little momentum, start walking. In 6 months, you're going to be on a regimen and training program and your life could be completely changed. That's good to know. That's good to know that you don't have to swallow the whale whole. Now we're going to prioritize a routine because it's never that you don't have time. It's only that you don't have a priority. If other things in your life take over your own fitness, then you're never going to do it. It has to be an anchor to you. The only way it becomes an anchor, remember, going back to number one, is if it has a strong why associated to it. And so anchor your fitness in your day. That's my call to action. Like if you do nothing else today, you're going to work out. I'm not fancy on morning, mid, afternoon. I'm a morning person. I like to do it first thing. I'm a morning person, but I have to work out first thing in the morning, but I don't go to camp first thing in the morning. I wake up and work out of my house for 15 to 20 minutes, something light, and then it's a noon camp at Lake Norman where the beasts come out to play. That's the routine. And so what we're going to do is to get you to start thinking about your routine, and we're going to start by introducing you to a Huberman clip in which he addresses what cliche did I say? Oh yeah, he addresses the how to build a habit. It takes 21 days to build a habit. Here you go.
Same habit to be formed. It can take anywhere from 18 days to as many as 254 days for different individuals to form that habit. What specific habit they were looking at. And it's interesting that the specific behavior was a health-related behavior, which was taking walks after dinner. How did they know when they formed the habit? Well, they were doing it about 85% of the time. They also reported not having to spend that much mental effort in order to get into the mode of taking a walk after dinner. Some of you might be thinking, I can't believe that it would take some people 254 days to get into that habit. People are highly variable. And if you can't form one habit easily, it doesn't mean that you can't form other habits easily.
Okay. What do you hear when you hear that clip for the first time? What was your reaction?
Well, I had also fallen for the 21 days. And so it was interesting to hear that because you might be able to pick up a habit. So you might be right in that it did work for you because you fall into that range. But then also it's this idea of you need to have this emotion tied to why you're doing what you're doing and how does it make you feel. I do think that the example that they had from the study was interesting about the 85% of the time and what you do and why you're doing it. I think it all goes back to, if you're seeing the recurring thing, the why behind it.
Yeah. For sure. So, I mean, I guess what we're saying is that everybody's unique. Mm-hmm. This is what I hear when Huberman talks is you have to run from these cliches. You can't listen to somebody's advice and they say, hey, women shouldn't do this. Women shouldn't, I think cold plunge is a hot one right now. Like women shouldn't cold plunge. 21 days to form a habit. Carbs are the enemy. Fat is the enemy. What other cliches? GPT me a whole fitness cliches that aren't actually true.
Make you bulky.
Lifting will make you bulky. What are the other? Give me some more. I want fitness cliches like the classic ones. Skinny is like the goal. You want to be skinny. Everybody wants to be skinny, not strong. You know, and you're doing it. Yeah, fitness cliches that are not. Go ahead. Okay, so fitness cliches, here, we'll read these off. No pain, no gain. You can spot reduce fat. If you're not sweating, you're not working hard enough. Muscle turns into fat if you stop working out. That's a good one. The more you work out, the better. Carbs are bad. You need to do hours of cardio to lose weight. Lifting weights will make you bulky. There it is. More crunches equals six-pack abs. Stretching prevents soreness.
Those are good.
Yeah, aren't they? right? So we're going to establish a routine. That's what we're talking about. But the first thing you need to do before you establish a routine is you need to get all of this stuff out of your head. Because if you guys are preconditioned by all these cliches that you've heard, here's what happens. And I sit down and talk with members about this. They literally will repeat to me like a mashup of cliches as their nutrition, as their philosophy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They'll be like, yeah, last 10 years, I'm not really wanting to get bulky. So, I've really been staying away from fats and, keeping my proteins moderate, but, the more you work out, the better it is. So I've been doing, 2 times a day and, sometimes carbs are bad. So, and the whole narrative is this mismatch of different cliches out there. Yeah. So in order to establish a routine and anchor your day in fitness, I want you to realize that these cliches are completely false. And then if you listen to somebody's singular line, even if it is true for you, it's not true for Trisha. Even if it takes you 21 days to form a habit, it takes her 18. Even if it takes somebody 1 day to form a habit because they just made a decision and they're a decision-oriented person. And when we make decisions, we don't revert. It could take you 1 day to make a decision. Mm-hmm. So it could take you 254 days to make a decision if you're not convicted and bought in. So this idea that you can scour the internet and come up with a philosophy by listening to other people and it's never going to work for you. You are so unique as an individual and you are going to have to experiment with yourself. Okay, you're going to have to figure out trial and error what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Mm-hmm. So establishing a routine is very important. I explained a little bit about how I think about anchoring my day in fitness. Yeah. Do you share the same views? How are you nuanced and maybe just go through your establishing a routine process. So for those that are trying to train, right? Because you can't establish a routine if you're exercising or if you're doing activity. Yeah. There's no routine to establish. You could show up maybe, but that's about it. It stops there. It's very shallow.
Yeah. And I'm a goal-oriented person. So I find that the better that I do with something is I have a goal. I set a goal and then I have to do a work back from there. That's just how my brain works. That's how I'm wired. And I always have to challenge myself to have like a new goal. And so when the goal is establishing a fitness routine, it's okay. For right now, I have a full-time job. So what I do is I literally every Sunday, it's my routine to schedule my workouts. I now have a pretty consistent routine of when I go work out, but if I don't make that plan and I don't have that routine of Sunday nights organizing my whole week is effed. It's like, it's not good. And it's all rooted, like you said, it's rooted in family. So it's rooted in my kids and what their routine is. And then I have to layer on top of that. But then what's going to make me ultimately the best version of myself, which going back to the very beginning of the podcast, is fitness. So I have to make that a plan in my daily schedule.
Yeah, and I'm going to do a full podcast in the future on. I'm going to break down every element of DK's routine. I'm not going to give it as advice because it's a very advanced routine at this point because I've been practicing for 15 years. But I am going to do that, and I'm also going to come and give like renditions of that people could follow, just as maybe like a blueprint. So make sure you're subscribing to the podcast because when that does come out, you're going to be alerted only if you're subscribing. So I don't have a timeline for that yet, but very soon. And what I want to do next is we're talking about recovery or talking about routine is roll this video. I just want to go back. This is actually, we're sticking with Huberman and Galpin today. So we're going to go back to these guys actually having a discussion. And they're talking about, oh, no, we're not. We're not going to that. Never mind. I don't want to go to that one. Let's save that for another show. We're going to not play another clip. What I'm going to do is, let's see. I'm going to ask you some questions. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. I want you to, again, close your eyes. We're going to do one more exercise on this podcast today, okay? I'm going to get you into establishing an initial routine, get some motivation to establish this initial routine, get some momentum in your life, and you only can do so if you kind of go introspective for a moment and take some time to ask yourself a few questions, okay? Here we go. Close your eyes. Try to answer these questions as I'm asking them. In reality, what are your top 3 priorities in life? Go ahead and answer.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, my top 3 priorities, my kids, my health, and then ultimately my work, because that's going to ultimately help me do the things that I want to do with my kids and for my own goals.
Okay. So Trisha does what most people do, okay? Puts kids, puts work, puts X, Y, and Z, you name it, ahead of herself. Because it feels very bad to be selfish. We think that if we put ourselves as our number 1 priority, that is a selfish thing, because I actually have people in my life that I have to take care of, that I don't get a choice. These have to be my number 1 priorities. I think if I pose this question to Trisha again, she's probably going to make an amendment, because the way she actually lives is that her routine, based on her actions, her scheduling her Sundays, not missing workouts. How many camps have you done just this year?
Oh, over 50.
Okay, over 50 just this year. You don't do that unless you're prioritizing yourself first. She told me what the byproducts of her self-prioritization are. Is her kids, her family, and her work, her husband, kids, and work. Okay, those are byproducts of those are lagging indicators to you taking care of your energy through nutrition, through health, through psychology. So when you are your number 1 priority, and I want you to language it that way. I want you to stop languaging it like my kids and God and my family and my work and these things. I know these things are all priorities. You are a capable superhuman being. You have the capacity to have multiple priorities at one time. My question isn't what do you what is important to you. My question is, what is your number 1 priority? And if the answer isn't unequivocally you, then I'm going to follow that pathology down to your life. And the things that you're telling me that are your number 1 priority, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, they're going to suffer. And I'm going to point that out to you, and you're going to hate me for it because I can see it. But then you're going to love me later, because you're going to realize that when I do put myself first, and I'm doing it with the purest of intentions, that is actually the most selfless thing that I could ever do, is to put myself first, is to take care of my energy. If you don't have cup runneth over, who else is going to get your energy? If you're drained all the time, like Trisha, right now, there are thousands of moms and dads nodding their head up and down. I'm drained all the time. I have 0 energy. I know that your life isn't as wonderful as it could be. I'm not saying it's miserable. I'm just saying I know it's not as wonderful as it could be. And isn't that a regret if you're leaving potential energy and satisfaction on the table? So my question's for you. So when we establish a routine, we anchor it in our workouts. Number 1, because that's the thing that gives us our energy. Number 2, we anchor it in food, because that's the thing that gives us the energy. Number 3, we anchor it in how we think, what we read. So I call it hour of power. You got those 3 things. Hour of power. What you eat, how you work out, and what you read. So every day for an hour, I'm working out, I'm reading, and I'm making my food. I'm planning my food, generically speaking, right? But those are the 3 things that actually make you. Those are the underlying disciplines that actually manifest yourself as a priority. Or otherwise, it's just a bunch of word vomit and a bunch of false promises that you're making to yourself. So I'm a little upfront on this one, and I'm a little in your face on this one, because I see failures. Like once I explain this to a lot of people, they'll get 1 and they'll get 2, but they get to 3, and it's establishing a routine, and it's like, oh, I'm busy. You don't know how busy I am. Oh, you know my life. You have no idea what it's like being me walking in my shoes.
Yeah.
And you're right that I don't. But I do, because we're all humans and we all share the same archetype. So You're nodding your head. You got something to say. I could see it. Go ahead.
Well, it's just the internal battle. It's a mindset. It's how you're talking to yourself. And I think the more awareness that you have to the negative conversations that are going on in your head about how busy you are, because I get it. I'm a working mom. My husband travels a lot. I have 3 kids. They have sports. Like all these, some days I'm like excuse after excuse after excuse. But then I started to recently try and have more awareness, and really around, I was dreading coming home and making dinner at night. And I flipped the mindset, and I'm like, I want to actually enjoy making dinner. I want to bring my kids into it. And so that is just an example of, I really was just self-talk with myself. So if you're one of those people that you're telling yourself you're too busy, that's just the story that you are literally telling yourself. Tell yourself a different story repeatedly and see what happens. And I promise you'll start to like see the light and like, oh, I can make time. I can do it this way, because that was just the story that I was telling myself because XYZ internet influencer that I was listening to, because I was filling my head with garbage, made me go down this negative path.
Yeah, and we are all guilty of this, everybody. Yeah. Every one of us are all guilty of this. I had this stupid thing in my head for so long that Gary Vee said a long time ago when I was like 24 or something like that. He was like, have no expectations of anyone around you, and that's the ultimate way to happiness. I was like, it sounds real good. Let's do that. And so I kept telling Morgan, I'm like, stop having expectations of me. You're going to be unhappy when I don't meet them. And I kept telling that to myself too. And that strategy didn't work out very well. Like I'll tell you the story later, but it did not work out very well. This cliche that I had in my head actually was driving my relationship with my wife further and further and further apart, because we were both like, you don't get to approve of me. I don't get to approve of you. You're your own person. I can't have expectations of you. You can't have expectations of me. You should love me for who I am and this. And it's like, yeah, that did not work out really good at all. And we reverted completely opposite. And now it's like, no, actually, I seek your approval and I seek your expectations, and I want to make you happy and I want to fulfill them. And I'll tell you if it's outside or misaligned or not congruent with who I am as a human being, because I still believe that I am an independent person, and for nobody should I sacrifice my own core values if I approve of myself. But most of the time, we're not approving of ourselves, and we're asking people to sacrifice their core values so that it can make us feel better, because we don't actually approve of ourselves. You follow me?
Yeah.
So crazy, isn't it?
It is.
So I'm guilty of this as well, people. And so, screw you, Gary Vee. No, I'm just kidding. Gary Vee's the man. I love that guy. I'll hopefully get him on the board at Burn Boot Camp one day. That would be cool. All right, people. Listen, we're gonna round out. Hopefully, you've really enjoyed this conversation. We're going to round out with just some nutrition basics. Okay. We'll go into recovery later. Okay. You don't need to start recovering until you start working out. All right. So let's get you rowing. Let's get your momentum going. Let's get into the gym. Let's get you a community. Let's get you a trainer. Or if you already have all these things, like like I said at the top of the podcast, if you're advanced, this is it for you. But here's a positive reminder. Are you leaning into your community? Are you actually doing the PRs? Right? Or are you one of those people that's like, oh, I don't want to do a PR. No, do the PR, bud, because at the end of the day, it's going to show you how confident you really are. And don't you want that? Isn't that what we're all after? In fact, Burn is a marketing company whose product is confidence. We have a message we want to share with you, and the message is, you're stronger than you think you are. You got more in you than you thought you had. And hey, you've got some responsibility to take care of, because the last 10 years, you've had a rough one. You've done a lot of things to your body that your body doesn't like, that your mind doesn't like. And it's no one else's fault but your own. And that's okay. Why is that okay? Because now we can take responsibility for it. We can actually go out and do something. We can motivate ourselves because we can get up in the morning and we have control. And the number one pillar to motivation for me is doing what I can control. So this is very important to really realize this. And so as we round out and just talk a little bit about the nutrition basics, we're just going to talk nutrition 101, people. That's it. Nutrition 101. It's one kind of phrase in Burn Boot Camp that we like to use. It's called small wins. Mm-hmm. Back to the momentum thing, right? If you want to be a person who intrinsically eats healthy, who has the relationship with cooking that Trisha has, who has the relationship with food that I have, I love my food. When I sit down and I eat a beautiful big elk steak from Fossil Farms up in Canada, and when I get that shipment in, and it's all like ready to go, and like I put it in my freezer, and I'm excited for it, and I get it out and I char it, and like I make sure the char is perfect on it, and then I put it in my grill, and the juices from the steak just melt in there, and I'm like, oh, it's just like velvet.
Everyone's mouth is watering right now, DK.
I know. And then you take cubed sweet potatoes. This is my go-to. You take some cubed sweet potatoes and you put them on a pan, and you put some a high smoke point temperature in there, like olive oil or avocado oil or something like that, and you kind of case them in that, and you toss them, and it caramelizes like instantly. Ooh, and then you do peppers the same way, and onions, and then you have a steak bite and a sweet potato and a pepper. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm so grateful for this meal. Look how far this elk came. This elk was happy living we killed this elk. And he was happy to sacrifice his life because the Creator put animals on this planet for humans to consume them. And the great circle of life continues. And the truck driver that left his family, they had to haul this thing down here to North Carolina, and then the Amazon guy or whoever that had to drop it off, like all the things that went into this one bite of food. Gosh, I'm so grateful. And I talk to my food, and I thank it for its energy. And I thank the sweet potato for, I know you guys think I'm freaking crazy, but I thank the sweet potato. I say, sweet potato, thank you for being, first of all, so nourishing, but going through the storms to be here today. There were so many of your friends that got murdered in that storm when you're harvesting. You're a survivor. And I thank you for being here and allowing me to consume you as energy so the circle of life can continue to keep going. And people talk about you have to have a relationship with food. Guys, that's the relationship with food is the relationship spiritually with the universe. We are all one and the same. Units of energy. We are all units of energy. Okay? And it's very important that we have a perspective on nutrition that is one that is of gratitude, right? Not I have to eat or, oh, healthy food's so bad. If you're this person that has that whiny voice around healthy food, like, and you know it, seriously, if you know it, DM me. If you're like, dude, I'm that whiny person that like, I know, like I just make excuses because like, I mean, I will pick up my Instagram and I will FaceTime you, and we will talk back and forth, and I will get you out of that, because that, my friends, is the most self-fulfilling, toxic behavior that you could possibly have, is having negative energy toward food. Food in its whole form, in purest form, is the most potent form of energy on the planet, is the food source that human beings have the how would you say have the pleasure of consuming. So that's the foundation, and then we can talk about like small wins in meal planning, right? And how to maximize your week. Go back to Stop Starting Over. It's on Amazon if you want to buy it. I believe there's a free PDF floating around there too, somewhere around the internet. I'm not worried about sales. I just want you to get the information. And if you want the PDF, you can also DM me devin.klein on Instagram, and I'll send you the PDF directly. The PDF or the Stop Starting Over talks about the nutrition philosophy at Burn, which is 5 small wins. You want to go over these real quick, Trisha, and we'll get the folks out of here?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to name them off real quick, and then I want you to finish on kind of your story on how this is manifest in your life, and we will get right up out of here. So 5 small wins. All right. Number 1 small win. Alcohol intake. That's number 1. Sugar intake, number 2. Okay? Protein intake, number 3. Water intake, number 4. Which one am I missing? Do you know?
Sleep? No, nutrition. Hydration?
Hydration, just went over that one. Matt Morris just walked in the building. Let's test him. Come here, Matt. Come over here. Come on the podcast with me real quick. Come over here, buddy. We're talking about Burn Boot Camp 5 nutrition wins, and I'm going to quiz you, okay? I'm going to put you on the spot right now. All right? No. Come over here. All right, this is Matty Morris here, buddy. I got your mic right here. Come on in. You guys know him. Hey. All right.
Let's make this awkward.
All right, we'll make this real awkward. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'm quizzing you.
Okay.
5 small nutrition wins. Burn boot camp, go.
Water intake,
Water intake,
protein intake,
protein intake,
alcohol intake,
alcohol intake. You're doing so good.
sugar intake,
Sugar intake.
Oh, that was it.
and
I've already said all these. There's the one more.
I'm blanking.
Okay. Trisha, anybody know? Okay.
4 for 5.
All right. So let's go over them. Okay. First of all, number 1, we'll go over them. Number 1, we want calories to be controlled.
Okay.
There's another one. That's the 5th one, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. We want calories to be controlled. We don't want too many calories. Okay. We got to control those calories. Now, it's not about CICO, calories in, calories out, or even QCICO, quality calories in, calories out. It's not all about that. That's the energy system for insulin. Then there's also an energy system for fat and ketones. We'll talk about that later. We're not going to go into that. What we're going to go into is these 5 small wins really briefly, really quickly. Alcohol, number 1. I'm not going to deprive you of anything. What I'm going to say is 0 to 3 drinks a week. If you want to maintain good health, 0 to 3 drinks a week. Ideally, if you had the 3 drinks on one day, it's probably more fun, and it's also better for you because you can burn off and metabolize that those sugar alcohols right away. Number 2 is protein. 100 grams of protein, at least on a daily basis, is a minimum for all human beings as a baseline. We're just going to get you started there. Let's get 100 grams of protein into your diet on a daily basis. Let's get you with the building blocks, the amino acids, to be able to to utilize protein synthesis to put on muscle mass when we strength train in the gym. 100, and then the next one is water, 100 Z's or ounces. So you start off with 100 G's and 100 Z's or ounces, okay? And then we're going to go to sugar. Okay, 25 grams of added sugar or less is ideal. Do not get this confused with bananas, dates, fruits, grapes. Okay, get this confused with added sugar that is in packaged goods, added sugar that isn't formed in its natural state. People, I have never met anybody who has gotten overweight on eating grapes every day. Okay? And the final one, last and final one, calories. Mm-hmm. Calories, it is the unit of energy. We have to control our calories. Matt knew this. That was such a trick question for Matt because that's like the obvious things like calories are the unit of energy. So calories are the unit of energy from our food to our body, and we need to learn about calories, regulate calories, and we need to establish a baseline of how many calories that we're going to eat. Because then what we're going to do is do trial and error off of that. You're going to, whatever your goals are, if you had X amount of calories, the next step is the macronutrient ratio, in which it's carbohydrates, it's fats, and it's proteins. And this is kind of just the baseline introduction into Nutrition 101. There are so many other amazing facets that we're going to go into here on the podcast. But keeping this within the scope today, for beginners and their fitness routine, those are the 5 things that I'm really sitting down with people and talking about them with when they first sit down at a focus meeting with us, with me or one of our other thousands of trainers out there in Burn Nation. So Trisha, when you had your first focus meeting, didn't it sound a lot like the podcast that we're doing today in probably a much shorter form?
No, it definitely did. I mean, we've come a long way since my first focus meeting, but I mean, it's really a drill down into those 5 things and how are you doing on them, and it brings awareness to how you're doing on them. So highly recommend a focus meeting if you haven't booked one yet.
All right, everyone. This has been really good. I think it's gone well. What do you think? It's gone well for you?
I mean, you took me for a little bit of a emotional journey that I appreciated. So thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm happy to do it anytime. I think it's really cool that you are vulnerable and you show up on the podcast ready to just talk about your life, and it's not easy to admit in front of thousands of people that you scream at your kids early in the morning sometimes, but you know what happened? It makes you so much more real, because how many times have every single person listening done that this week, and we can get better through your story. And so thank you for like being here and being a available participant to my madness.
Yeah, no, we're in it together, right?
That's for sure.
So.
All right. Love you, girl. All right. Love you guys too out there. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, subscribe if you want to get these future podcasts that I'm talking about. Go back, listen to that DG podcast that I mentioned. Hey, podcast is gaining some momentum. We really thank you all for that. And producer Chelsea, producer Jordan, thank you guys for always showing up and doing your thing. And we are out. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.